the Saints 23-20 victors at the Superdome against the 49ers. Would you like to take it away? I mean, I know that you were heated before we went on the air, so please.
I wasn't heated. Listen, I mean, I'm as a 49ers fan, concerned about the team. I'm concerned about the quarterback. I didn't think we were going to win yesterday. There was no momentum to this team like there has been. And even when we were winning 4 or 5 in a row there, it didn't feel like, hey, we're gonna take on the world. So.
You paid closer attention. I did think it was that. I thought, and so did a lot of others. A lot of the sites I read, the guys I read, were believing that the Niners had just, this was the team, they'd hit their stride. And they were surprised by the Panther loss, but thought, okay, the Panthers are better, and we thought that's a hiccup, and they'll put up 30 on the Saints, and maybe they lose at 34-30, but they were rolling. But they were Kaepernick, 17 of 31, 127 yards, and looked like he did against Seattle. Looked, tentative, unsure.
And they telegraph a game plan now that features the run. New Orleans is a good run defense, and there was no improvisation after that. So and also the personnel. I mean, right now at receiver, the 49ers have some problems, but they were putting LaMichael James, Kendall Hunter, and Frank Gore in. Harbaugh knows at this point, in order for Frank Gore to be effective, he's got to get a number of carries in a row. Or
how many would you say, ballpark?
That he needs in a game
to be successful.
No, I mean, listen, with him if he's going to be on or he's not going to be on. If you give him 7, 8, if you give him 3 sets of downs and you see something happening, but he was switching. He's really hypersensitive now, is Harbaugh, about getting LaMichael James into the game. They dropped Kyle Williams, so LaMichael James is now returning punts.
Did you agree with that move, by the way?
I mean, yeah, objectively it made sense. I mean, I think there are other people I would have dropped before Kyle Williams, but they have 4 wide receivers, so no NFL. When 2 of them are Jonathan Baldwin, and one of
I think is actually going to be a really good pro. I do. He's a little ways away, but I think he's going to be.
Well, maybe
good.
He will be.
I mean, is the loss of Michael Crabtree really the problem in San Francisco?
It's a big problem there.
Because that seems to. I don't know a ton of personnel what the personnel changes were in the offseason, but from game 1, week 1 till
week
now.
1 they had Anquan Baldwin go absolutely nuts,
right?
And so they didn't. It felt.
You know who else went absolutely nuts? Colin Kaepernick.
Yeah, he had like over 400 yards that game and hasn't.
It was all. It turns out because of Anquan Bolden. But so I think that with Bolden, everybody thought, oh, okay, we've replaced Crabtree. But Kaepernick and Crabtree did have a connection last year that propelled them. They kind of, I guess, and I'm now believing this receiver and quarterback, when they're working together, it's great. So in any case, I'm not optimistic for the 49ers. I think Kaepernick has really not looked good this year. Something seems different to everybody I know who watches the 49ers regularly.
No, he has not. He has not looked good this year. I think it's very safe to say.
Why isn't there more of what we saw last year? I don't mean obviously.
Running.
Yeah. Why? Where's more of this read option and the running? Are they?
Well, I think that's a good question. He's making the decision to run too late, and he's often making the decision not to run and to get rid of the ball. I also think that listen, they had the spring and the summer. These defenses did to look at Colin Kaepernick and try and figure out how to defend against him. They're doing a good job of that. He played 10 games coming into this season, 10 NFL games. So they go to the drawing board. Now Kaepernick goes and spends a lot of time looking at what defenses are doing, and he has to adjust now. So
the adjustment has to come back.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's puzzling to not see them engage in the same kind of offense that was so electrifying, and we were all thrown off by that week 1 because they actually didn't do the read option much in week 1, and he still threw for 400
Well,
yards.
defenses are also sending one guy to cover Kaepernick, which wasn't happening before. So they have a guy who is, and these are defenses within the division, but I think I noticed Carolina doing the same thing, is they'll have one guy key on Kaepernick so that takes away one option for him, so he has to go in another direction. But that seems to be the way that one of the things they're
that's the
doing.
way teams used to defend Randall Cunningham.
Yeah.
And when I remember when Washington would play Philadelphia, Monty Coleman was always his job. He would just follow Randall Cunningham
and that's
wherever he went to prevent.
That's what they're doing to Kaepernick, which they weren't doing last year.
But yet yesterday against a Saints D that's was bad, starting to come on in the last couple of weeks. He had 25 rushing yards and one for 16 yards. So I mean, the guy didn't move at all. Kaepernick.
No, I know, but that's been typical of the season. And I think the Saints defense, they're number 7 against the run.
I think actually,
are they 7 against the
run? They've been actually pretty good.
Yeah,
pretty solid all year. I mean, there's hard to. they're hard to beat. I can't think of a better coaching change than bringing in Rob Ryan.
Right. Well, bringing in Sean Payton seems to have helped.
Yeah, Sean Payton's a good guy. Where was that guy last year?
I have no idea.
I'm surprised nobody hired him.
Yeah, well, it's good. I mean, they're
Can we talk about
front office.
the controversial play, you could say, hitting a quarterback in the neck area? Something I had never heard until that game yesterday. Drew Brees was bleeding after he got hit, so maybe that's a little more fuel to the fire. But that's a play that a call that I've never seen before. I've certainly seen those hits before. Maybe it's been instituted within the last few years.
That counts as the head. It's still the.
No, I understand that they're trying to protect the quarterback. I totally get that. But are we trying to protect the quarterback a little too much?
Absolutely.
Is the question I'll pose to you.
Really, the question was whether we are or aren't. Was that the right call? Even if you were protecting the quarterback, was that the right call?
I would go with no.
Yeah, I was at no, and am somewhere in between now. Matt Mayoko, who covers the 49ers for CSM Bay Area, a lot of people were outraged at the call, and then Mayoko took a look at it, and he said after consulting with the NFL officials, looking at it over and over again, it seems like the right call.
Oh, really?
He didn't start the hit. Ahmad Brooks, who went to the University of Virginia, Ahmad Brooks didn't start the hit on the neck, but his arm went up. I don't see that.
I didn't see it, but like it doesn't matter really because the league before they made the call, they didn't get to look at it 38 times.
Yeah.
The way what's his name, Matt Mayoko did, or
I
did,
say Bud Selig.
or the way I did on replay. And the fact is, live because of the way Drew Brees' head moved.
Yeah.
It looked like he got horse
looked
collared.
vicious.
Right.
Yeah.
And then you looked at it on replay and you're like, oh, it wasn't vicious.
Yeah.
It was just, it's vicious because it was a football tackle.
It seemed as if the flag came from behind Brees.
It did. It came
Yeah.
immediately.
And so how did he see where the head?
Because they didn't. Because you look live speed and you just see a head go like that, and you think they just hit him in the head.
Yeah.
It's totally logical. And at first I thought you would, because the mistakes are made on that call so often, that we could review blows to the head. Because we see sometimes, guys leading with their shoulder, guys leading with their shoulder pad, and it turned out they didn't hit him in the head. It just seemed like it. But that said, the last thing, as I'm finding it harder and harder to watch football, the last thing I want to see is more things reviewed.
Yeah, I know. And that's an issue.
But that might be something that has to come into play is reviewing these penalties. If they're going to start throwing all the flags to the point where we don't even want to watch football, don't want to watch football, but it's becoming painful to watch these guys get penalized for non-penalties. They should review them.
Yeah, there's certainly an argument to be made for that.
Yes.
Can we pull up the schedules very quickly?
By the way, 22 penalties in the Broncos-Colts game.
How many?
22. That was a good game. Like I enjoyed watching it, but man, there were a lot of penalties. And I'm sorry, I said Broncos-Colts, Broncos-Chiefs. 22 penalties.
A lot of penalties.
13-9. The Broncos had more.
A lot of penalties and a lot of punts, unfortunately.
Yeah.
So let's pull up the 49ers schedule if we can, Charles.
Not enough touchdowns for the.
So this is the 49ers. They are at D.C. On Monday night. In Landover on Monday night. Against the Rams at home, against Seattle at home. That'll obviously be the big one, Michael.
Yeah, but I mean, you can't overlook St. Louis the way they're playing now either. I mean, it's at home, thankfully, but their defense is sort of figuring it out in their last games. They were on the bye this week. They now have a running game, which they didn't have earlier in the season.
Colin Kaepernick's worst game ever was in St. Louis?
Was in St. Louis, but that's fortunately home.
Right, that was it. That's right.
But that's a game that I think 49er fans are concerned about in the wake of
Presuming
Carolina.
that they beat Washington and St. Louis, that's a game. They'll be favored in every one of those games except Seattle.
Correct, yeah.
And they may be Seattle. They might be a 1-point favorite in Seattle. They could be a favorite in that whole slate.
Well, ironically, Arizona could be a big game on the last game of the season.
Definitely a game. They could lose. Arizona could easily be 9-6, 8-7, fighting for a playoff spot, fighting for a wild card. Yeah.
Or the 49ers could be fighting
or
for
the 49ers. Right, that game could be for the last playoff spot.
Yeah,
amazingly
exactly.
enough.
Can we pull up the Saints schedule as well, Charles?
But I wouldn't surprise me if the 49ers still finished 12-4. It just wouldn't. Because while you worry about the Rams, and I get that, they are playing better, the Niners defense is still good, and I have a very tough time seeing Kellen Clemens.
No, I agree. And one thing we're not talking about is that Michael Crabtree is going to be back.
I think the Niners are going to. I think the Niners are going to win out.
When does Crabtree come back?
Probably after the Washington.
I mean, I don't think. I'm going to take it back. I don't think they're going to win out. I think they could win out. It's a team that has looked pretty ineffective offensively 2 straight weeks, so they have to be better.
Very quickly, here's the Saints schedule. At Atlanta, that should be a win. At Seattle, That'll be really, really good. And then against Carolina at home, at St. Louis, at Carolina.
Yeah, remember,
against Tampa.
Rick, though, the Saints with 4 road games, including St. Louis, Carolina, Seattle, and, Atlanta, short week. The Saints are not the same team at home. They just had a huge win against the Niners, come back 3 days later. They are so ripe for a letdown. And then their next game is at Seattle.
Against Atlanta, though, you think?
Initially,
NFL team.
Michael and I, it's an NFL
Atlanta
team,
stinks.
and Michael and I are the 2 finalists in our King of the Hill, and I can pick the Saints. And initially, I was like, I'm going to take the Saints. I'm going to win that game Thursday. And this morning, while I was showering, I'm like, that's a terrible decision.
Yeah,
that's a terrible decision. That's
Who are you
a
gonna
game.
take?
I don't know, but that's a game that teams lose. I mean, the Saints will be favored, and they'll probably win it, but no one should be surprised if that game ends 30-27 Falcons. It's an NFL team.
I would be surprised because they have been the biggest letdown this year from the Julio Jones injury.
Yeah.
Right after that, completely downhill. I'd be very surprised if they lost
Saints
by
are
3
not
points.
the same
I think
in any
everybody
way.
would be surprised, but I think also that
I'd be willing to wager
that
it.
to see them
Ooh,
sneak
I like
up
that.
is not unheard of. To see them.
I don't like to wager.